Now comes the fun part, which is AIs. Now, AIs govern what attacks the mobs will know, and which ones it'll use. But this mob, because it's a humanoid, and we figure, it'll fight in a similar sort of ways to human warriors. Well, I've chosen a basic pre-Blade Master AI, which is a fancy way of saying that it'll have the same attacks as a human, as a player character who's chosen say a Tower Guard and taken the tier 2 skills of maiming and retaliation. Then what I've done is I've equipped him with 2 steel broadswords and his studded leather jerkin. Now, when we cover items in a subsequent video, I'm going to make some sort of custom tribal-ish weapons for this savage and his friends. But for now, a steel broadsword will do to show off sort of how it all works. Now, if we look around, our savage is still here. I'm going to release my Divine Fire, and he's going to wail on me for a bit. As you can see, he's using all sorts of attacks, and some of these are afflictions. For example, if I diagnose, I can see that he's hamstrung me to make it harder for me to run away. He's made it so that my bleeding doesn't clot. He's made it so that my healing's worse. He's done all sorts of things. I'll switch my Divine Fire on because I am a coward, and I'll just heal my afflictions. As you can see, my bleeding isn't going down because because he applied that affliction to me. And you can see some of these afflictions will come off slowly. We've been debating making a couple of these videos to explain how combat and healing works. We're not sure. It's basically just based on the response to these, whether people are interested in that sort of thing, or whether they prefer to look at our logs on NoGFX and the forums. But scrolling back up, we can see that the attacks he's using are the exact same ones as would be used by a human player with the same skills. And we can also see that the mob wasn't just sort of flailing around wildly doing random attacks. He didn't double stack afflictions. He stacked his afflictions on, then he went for a bleeding offense, because he knew, he tracked what afflictions I had, and if I'd cured them, he might have reapplied them, just based on how his AI works. Speaking of his AI, an interesting thing to talk about is the variance. Variance lets you set how sort of disciplined and combat capable a mob is. Well, what you can do is, if you set the variance higher, there's a bigger chance that he'll, on any individual attack, that he'll ignore his programming and lash out randomly with any attack he knows. So with a high variance, you can get sort of berserkers that just basically flail around wildly, whereas with a 0 variance, he's always using sort of the smartest attack based on his AI. And also flee, would determine when he sort of, the chance that he'll leg it when his health starts dropping. That covers the basics of mobs without counting events, except to discuss custom AIs. The AIs we were using here for this one was a player AI, which means it'll use player skills, but we don't have to do that. What we can also do is create completely new AIs that will use attacks not used by anything else according to an order we specify and under conditions we specify. So just to show that off, if we hop on over to 1420, we see a pair of hybrids, and then if we wander through here, we see Dr. Crangraf, which is sort of a mini-boss in the Rondon foothills. Now if I were to drop my Divine Fire, and kick the good doctor, we see that he begins hitting me with attacks no one else has. See, he's hit me with a beam of energy, he's made me more vulnerable to arcane damage. Now he's summoning a tentacle from my own flesh to choke me. Save me. And that's just that's the very, very, very tip of the iceberg in terms of attacks that we can make mobs do. There are other mobs that'll these spider mobs will sort of throw webs and create web shields and do all sorts of things. And that's just like, it's completely up to the builder. We really can do absolutely anything, and it gets done very, very quickly and very, very easily. That sort of concludes our the second part of our documentary series, Better Know a Lithmeria. I hope you'll join us building for the game or just following it, and I certainly hope you'll join me for the next video. See ya.